Hi, welcome to Lesson 6 in the series Learn Basic English the Easy Way. This time we'll be looking at Part 2 of correct grammar. We'll be looking at relative clauses. Relative clauses greatly expand our use of the language. They're broken into two sections: defining clauses and non-defining clauses. To understand these, we'll spend some time examining where and how we use them when we are speaking English. And the tip down the bottom, after mastering the concept of relative clauses, you'll have taken a big step forward in speaking English. Defining relative clauses. The defining or identifying clause tells us which specific person or thing we are talking about in a larger group of people or things. If a defining relative clause is removed, the meaning of the sentence changes significantly. A defining relative clause is not separated from the rest of the sentence by commas or parentheses. Here are some examples. The man who is sweeping the floor is working hard. The horse that jumped the hurdle is a racehorse. The child who was crying is very young. The house that was painted recently has been sold. Using who and that. Notice that when you are referring to a person, you should use who, the man who, the child who. When referring to other subjects, you should use that, the horse that, the house that. Now, say these after me, firstly with the defining clause and then without, and we'll notice how the meaning of the sentence changes. The man who is sweeping the floor is working hard. The man is working hard. The horse that jumped the hurdle is a racehorse. The horse is a racehorse. The child who was crying is very young. The child is very young. The house that was painted recently has been sold. The house has been sold. So we can see that even if we leave out that defining clause, which describes more what we were talking about, the meaning still remains the same. More defining relative clauses. As the name suggests, defining relative clauses gives essential information to define or identify the person or thing we're talking about. Take, for example, the sentence, "Dogs that like cats are very unusual." In this sentence, we understand that there are many dogs in the world, but we are only talking about the ones that like cats. The defining relative clause gives us that information. If the defining relative clause were removed from the sentence would still be grammatically correct, but its meaning would have changed significantly. Commas are not used to separate defining relative clauses from the rest of the sentence. Repeat after me. Children who hate chocolate are uncommon. They live in a house whose roof is full of holes. An elephant is an animal that lives in hot countries. Let's go to a country where the sun always shines. The reason why I came here today is not important. So we can see here that the words in red, the defining relative clauses, more describe the subject that we were talking about. The children, the house, the animal, the country, and the reason. So even if I leave out the relative clause, the meaning is significantly decreased. They live in a house, but it could be any house. But the house we're talking about is the one whose roof is full of holes. An elephant is an animal. It lives in hot countries. An elephant is an animal that lives in hot countries. We know it's an animal, but where does it live? So the relative clause best describes the subject. Non-defining clauses. A non-defining or non-essential clause gives us more information about the person or things we are talking about. If a non-defining relative clause is removed from a sentence, we lose some detail, but the overall meaning of the sentence remains the same. Non-defining relative clauses are always set off from the rest of the sentence with commas or parentheses, that is brackets, when you're writing those clauses. So we say, the man who is sweeping the floor with a broom is working hard. The horse which jumped hurdles is a racehorse. The house which badly needs painting is still in good condition. So here we're looking at writing with a comma. When we're speaking, we may pause a little and say, the man who is sweeping the floor with a broom is working hard. Using who and which. When using this type of clause, if you're referring to a person, use who, the man who, the child who, the boy who. If you're referring to other subjects, use which. The horse, which. The house, which. The elephant, which. So say these clauses after me, firstly with the non-defining clause and then without. The man who is sweeping the floor with a broom is working hard. The man is working hard. The horse which jumped hurdles is a racehorse. The horse is a racehorse. The house which badly needs painting is still in good condition. The house is still in good condition. So we can see we get more information about the person or thing we're talking about by using a non-defining clause. More non-defining relative clauses. A non-defining or non-essential clause gives us more information about the person or things we are talking about. If a non-defining relative clause is removed from the sentence, we lose some detail, but again the overall meaning of the sentence remains the same. And they're always set off from the rest of the sentence with commas or parentheses when we are writing them. So let's look at these. The farmer, whose name was Fred, sold us 10 pounds of potatoes. Elephants, which are the largest land mammals, live in herds of 10 or more adults. The author, who graduated from the same university I did, gave a wonderful presentation. My mother, who is 86, lives in Paris. So we are getting more information about the person or thing. A tip. Consider these other ways that I could have said the same thing as above. The farmer's name was Fred. He sold us 10 pounds of potatoes. Elephants are the largest land mammals. They live in herds of 10 or more. The author gave a wonderful presentation. He went to the same university I did. My mother lives in Paris. She is 86. So there is an alternative way of saying the same thing that we did up here in the non-defining relative clauses. Remember to practice as often as you can and speak English wherever possible with your friends, family, acquaintances. And you can download all of the files that are used in this learning series by going to this link, and then you can open the files on your computer at any time. Don't forget to subscribe, where you will be automatically notified of fresh uploads. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.